What's up, everybody? It's your boy Reg in the building. Over here dropping some latest R&B reviews for y'all. And I know originally I was supposed to have done a top 10 neo soul albums, but I just came back from my trip to Myrtle Beach, and I was like very tired and whatnot. So I'm gonna reschedule that for later on today. But as if you can hear in the background, this was a viewer's choice pick when I did the Isley brothers poll, and I mean I shouldn't be surprised, but anyway, this is the album I'm talking about, the Isley brothers. The Heat Is On. This was released in 1975 on the T-Neck Records, which was their label, by the way. This album is known for singles such as "Fight the Power," Part 1 and 2, and "For the Love of You," Part 1 and 2. I'm going to get into that Part 1 and 2 in a minute. Of course, Isley Brothers produced this whole album. Yeah, man. This is actually the first Isley Brothers album I am talking about on this channel, which is very crazy. But Isley Brothers, definitely one of my favorite groups in music history. Originally it started off with Ronald, O'Kelly, and Rudolph. Rest in peace to O'Kelly, by the way. But then it grew into Ernie, Marvin, and Chris Jasper. Rest in peace to Marvin, by the way, too. So, this was during the time when they had the 3+3 era. So I'm gonna give you like a synopsis of who they are, because I know they have like a long history. So I'm just gonna just break it down, like the main parts. So the Isley Brothers, they were a family group originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. You know what I'm saying? Their father, okay, was named O'Kelly Sr. and whatnot, and they had another brother named Vernon too. And so what was funny was, because I'm not funny, not that word funny, but what was interesting was like when they started off doing like gospel and singing in church, but Vernon, he actually was killed after a car hit him while he was riding his bike in his neighborhood. And so the group disbanded. Because of grief, but then they got back together, and by 1959, they got a record deal in RCA Records, and that's when they dropped their first song, "Shout." Everyone knows that song, "Shout," like "Shout," that song and shit like that, classic song. And like throughout the '60s, they had other hits too. And an interesting fact was the fact that when they were performing during the '60s, they had like a young Jimi Hendrix play guitar and stuff too. And if I'm not mistaken, they actually have some songs recorded with Jimi Hendrix like on record and stuff too. And another interesting fact not a lot of people know was that they also had a young Elton John play for them around that time too. So that was very interesting as well too. Not a lot of people know that about the Isley Brothers. And so around 1965, they signed to Motown Records, and I'm gonna put it to you this way: Motown, when it came to established artists, like artists who have already gotten success prior, they don't really know how to handle them well. Like prime example, when I think Billy Preston signed to Motown. I'm gonna say like during the late '70s and stuff like that. They didn't really promote him well. His biggest hit was a song he did with Sarita. I forgot the name of the song, but if you guys know what I'm talking about, if you guys remember the first episode of Martin, when Gina and Martin was singing that song in the beginning, that's the song. I keep forgetting the name of the song, but y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, they were best known for the song like "This Old Heart of Mine," which that was a pretty cool song. And so after Motown, they actually, started like the whole T-Neck label that year, and they had a distribution with Buddha Records, which one of my favorite R&B labels at that time. Had people like Norman Connors recorded there. I think Phyllis Hyman did the first couple songs there too. Give me 1 second. So in 1969, they dropped the song "It's Your Thing," and this was a very important song because this is the first appearance of Ernie Isley on bass, too, and which this would be like a precursor to what was to come. But there was also like some controversy because that was like one of the most. I think that was like the most successful album. It's Still Thing I was the most successful album to date at that time. But Motown tried to take Isley Brothers to court because they tried to pull they recorded that, when they were signed to Motown, they were working on when they were signed to Motown. But Isley Brothers said they were working on it, after they left Motown and shit. So, and it got settled like in 1975, ironically, and Isley Brothers won that case and shit too. So, and so now fast forward, now we're gonna get into the early '70s, and so Isley Brothers, they were expanding because now they were adding Ernie and Marvin and their brother-in-law Chris Jasper in their music, and that's when they dropped albums like "Giving It Back" and "Brother, Brother, Brother," and those albums were pretty cool because they were Isley Brothers like reinterpreting like rock songs, making them like funkier and gospel and stuff like that. And they weren't really the first groups to do that. 'Cause I know Ike and Tina was doing that before them, but the way they were doing it was very like it really set them apart, from like a lot of people at that time too. And so after the Buddha contract ended, they got a distribution deal with Epic Records and stuff like that. And so that's when they dropped the 3+3 album in 1973. Very dope album, one of my favorite Isley Brothers albums of all time. And then also the next year they dropped the Live It Up album, which was another dope album. I love that song, Live It Up, man. That's a classic. And when they were working on the next album, working on this album and stuff like that too. And so they definitely wanted like to really have like a division with the funkier songs and then the slow soulful songs. Um, Damn, this album is gotta clean out this vinyl and shit. Yeah, so and at that same time too, they were working a lot on the album, and Malcolm Cecil and that's one thing about vinyls, man. It's like, damn, you scratch too fucking much. But Malcolm Cecil and Robert Margoloff, who you guys should definitely know, they were the engineers with when Stevie Wonder did like the classic period, like Talking Book, I want to say Inner Visions, Music of My Mind, those albums. And they were working on the Isley Brothers, just to engineer this whole album too. And so around this time too, the Isley Brothers were very much doing like a lot of funk, doing like the 3+3 era and shit like that too. So yeah, man, this is the album that came out in 1975, and it's interesting because this is actually, if I'm not mistaken, their first #1 album, and I want to say this is actually their best-selling album too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, love the album cover. Just them in their pimped out 70s gear and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Doing their thing. Yeah, and this is another interesting thing too because they have all the members, and then they have like their horoscope and like the year, and the day they were born and stuff. So, Ron Isley. By the way, happy belated 80th birthday to Ron Isley. By the way, just throw that out there. We have Ron Isley, of course, May 21st. He's a Gemini. Rudolph Isley, he's an Aries, April 1st. Kelly Isley, he's a Capricorn. He was born on Christmas. Ernie Isley, he's a Pisces, March 7th. Chris Jasper, he's a Capricorn, December 30th. And finally, but not least, Marvin Isley, he's a Leo, August 18th and shit. So yeah, very, very cool. And this album only has about 6 tracks, so I'm just gonna fuck this. It's been years since I played that vinyl anyway. But anyway, yeah, this album has about 6 tracks. So yeah, let's get this shit started. Track number 1, "Fight the Power," Part 1 and Part 2, and which brings us into why they call a Part 1 and Part 2. Pretty much, if you guys remember when I was talking about, of course, like certain soul artists, they would have like a Part 1 be like the single version, and a Part 2 would just be like the instrumentational version and stuff like that too. So yeah, man. But back to "Fight the Power," very very dope classic song. This song pretty much was around the time when they started were doing like a lot more political tracks and whatnot. And so with this track right here, "Fight the Power," it was kind of controversial because at that time, it was controversial because at that time they had to censor. At that time, you couldn't really say the word bullshit on the radio, and so they had to definitely censor that shit too. And also because of the fact that it was basically talking about like, police brutality and whatnot too. It was definitely a very heavy song. Probably like one of the darkest songs the Isley Brothers put out in their discography, in my opinion. And yes, this song influenced Public Enemy when they did the song of the same title for the "Do the Right Thing" soundtrack, which also led to being on "Fear of a Black Planet," which I love those albums. Definitely need to get my hands on the "Do the Right Thing" soundtrack. Love that movie too. Yeah, man, "Fight the Power," definitely a very, very, definitely very dope song. And then you got "The Heat Is On." Love this track right here. I love the bass by Marvin and stuff like that, and it's synthesized by Chris Jasper. Very, very, very dope track. I love how Ron was singing it. It was definitely one of the more funkier tracks off this album. "Hope You Feel Better, Love." Another very cool, soulful, mid-tempo track. Ernie Isley with that fucking guitar solo, man. Ernie Isley, definitely so good. So glad he's getting his proper due right now and stuff like that. So yeah, man, very, very, very dope. Very, very, very dope song and whatnot, just based on that fucking groove. And then now you want to get into the ballads, which in my opinion, this is where the album really shines. And possibly my favorite track off this album, no surprise, "For the Love of You." This song right here is a legendary song. Everybody knows the song, covered by how many people, sampled by how many people. I mean, it's just one of those, classic Isley Brothers songs. So yeah, "For the Love of You." This song was pretty much, just talking about, just the love one has for like a love of his female and stuff like that, and just a perfect song about making love. One of the I think like really like one of their most iconic probably like their most iconic ballad too. Like Ron Isley definitely did his thing. Ron Isley definitely did his thing with singing this track right here. I love the line where he says, Paradise I have within, can't feel insecure again. You're the key. Well, this I see. Now and then and lose my way, using words that try to say what I feel. I mean, timeless song right here. And a little trivia. Um, they actually did 2 takes of this whole song, and there was an original version that Iran definitely did his thing, but then there was only one problem. They accidentally erased it after he did that in one take, so they had to like actually redo that version, and the redone version is what you guys hear on Wax 2. So yeah, man. So that was "For the Love of You," one of my all-time favorite Isley Brothers song. Then we're gonna get into "Sensuality," another very, very, very tempting, very romantic kind of song. Chris Jasper, man, definitely a key player when it came to him playing at the Moog synthesizer. Ron Isley definitely did his thing on this track, just doing his thing like a fucking sensual ballad. I mean, and then the drums before like the chorus hits and whatnot. Very, very, very timeless joint in my opinion. And the last track off this album, "Make Me Say It Again, Girl." Very, very, very dope song. Yes, this is a song that Bone Thugs and Harmony sampled. I'm not gonna say what song they sampled from. You guys should know by the top of your head. But yeah, very, very, very good song. Nice way to end off this album. And that's all the time I have. Overall, this album is a very good album. It's a classic album. I know a lot of people say this is their best album to date. I'm not gonna argue, but to me, I'm more of a go for the guns person and whatnot, which I do gotta talk about the album one day. You know, this album was pretty much them, you know, enjoying it at their prime. The showmanship on this album alone is something to be talked about. So I would definitely recommend this album for all of my 70 soul heads and whatnot too. This album should still be in print. I know for a fact it should still be in print. So yeah, this is the Isley Brothers. The Heat is on 1975. And that's all the time I have. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.